Anna Kasparian goes after Kanye West for comments that he made comparing abortion to the Holocaust. And surprise, surprise, Vin actually agrees with Anna in a certain point. Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America.
And you ain't black.
The first time ever any...
What are you people? We're Americans. We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent. This is Middle America with Vin and Sori, where we are not left wing, we are not right wing, we are just right. Yeah. That's a joke. Kind of not really. Guys, you might notice I've been away for a couple days, and that's because we were busy having a child. So Seneca Truth March came into the world at on October something, October 18th at 12:30 a.m. sharp. So shout out to the homie. Good Lord, that one was difficult. That one was really, really difficult. So I've been to a lot of them, as you guys know, but that one was tough. Shout out to Soraya Radharani, because she unbelievable. It was just unbelievable to me to watch that. The amount of respect that you have for your lady just increases by 1 trillion when you see what they have to go through in order to bring life here. It's truly incredible. You know, it was the most pain I've ever seen her in since we've been together, and I was the only one crying in the room. She is unbelievable. I was actually able to take the child out and put him onto Sori. I was actually the one that did that, and my hands were completely bloody. So it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. I've been talking stuff through with Sori's dad just to get stuff off my chest, and you guys too, obviously. So anyway, somebody who apparently hates me sent me this and said, you probably want to look at this. Your friend Anna Kasparian has done it again. And then so I kind of rolled my eyes. So apparently this is more fallout from the Kanye West radio interview. Kanye is you know, I mean, what can you say? Kanye is Kanye, I guess, is the only thing that you can say about these situations. I don't really know what the brother said, but I am sure that it was spicy, because I'm looking at this Young Turk thing and it says Anna Kasparian eviscerates Cenk Uygur. I mean, sorry, Anna Kasparian eviscerates Kanye West. Thank you guys for the congratulations and things like that. Where have I been? I've been in the hospital supporting Soraya while we had Seneca. So Seneca showed up. Seneca Truth showed up. And so that's where I've been, Michelle. That's where I've been. So there we go. King Yeti says Anna is never right. This should be good. Randy says, Vin, I'm tired of Anna. And my brother says, what's up? Didn't you know everything is owned by one Jewish man? And congratulations. Yeah. Applejack's son came out with a cone head. You know, Reza came out with a cone head, and we kind of looked at each other because when Orion was born, he was just incredibly beautiful. And we took one look at Reza, and Sarai actually looked at me and shook her head. She's like, this ain't it. Oh God, we're horrible parents. Shout out to Ranter Matt, Chris McDaniel in the house. Yes, we're still doing the other channel. I'm just putting Soraya on maternity leave. I've got about I don't know, 2 or 3 months worth of videos to chop up and upload so that you guys can watch them in the interim. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to everybody. Let's get into this video. Anna Kasparian eviscerates. That's a very interesting word considering the subject matter. Kanye West over, I'm assuming this is gonna be it explicitly says it. It says about abortion. So apparently our brother Kanye made some comments relative to abortion. You know, I as far as what's going on with him, I am not sure that he's not doing this stuff on purpose. I know people are saying, oh, he's being, he's allowing the right to use him and exploit him. And obviously the right is using him, but I'm not certain that he's not exploiting the right. I'm not certain that he's just kind of this dumb person who doesn't know what's going on. I think that there's a quid pro quo there, to be honest with you, relative to this action. So, but either way, he has made some pretty controversial statements recently, and we're all talking about him. So again, you could say that the Republicans are using him, or you could say that he's using them, or whatever. Also, type 22 if I'm coming in clear on the mic. If I'm a little chippy, I want to know. Okay, guys, here we go. Shout out to Darrell McLeod. If there is a new Ghost song, I will actually do it because I'm a fan of Ghost. All right, guys, here we go. Anna Kasparian eviscerates Kanye West. Let's hear it out.
During Kanye West's interview with a podcast over the weekend, he not only regurgitated all sorts of right-wing talking points.
Misery Machine, I should have texted you guys to come see us at the hospital because Soraya would have loved that if we would have been able to have Drewby and Jess in the hospital. I didn't even think about it. Jess, we were in CMMC, and holy smokes, that place is interesting. It's very, very interesting. So much love to Misery Machine. We gotta catch up, guys. It's just that this Fuji launch and takeoff thing has been pretty big for us. So we haven't been able to be as present with our friends as we'd like, and then all of a sudden, boom, the baby shows up. So there was a lot of shit going on at the time for us. No excuses. I mean, they're all good problems, but you kind of want to have your friends kind of there with you in times like that. So anyway, I'm pretty happy now. We're getting Soraya the rest that she needs, and we will be back stronger than ever for you beautiful people. Now, speaking of babies, I guess what I should do, especially considering it's pertinent to this discussion, is I am going to post the link to our Amazon account for Fuji Bear baby formula, because that is our company. We are a FDA, Amazon, U.S. customs brokers, got approvals from all those people. You can probably imagine that Amazon's gateway to entry is extremely, extremely high. So we're very, very proud of that. So I'll put it down there, the link to Fuji Bear. If you know anybody that needs baby formula, this is baby formula that we ourselves tried out on our kids well before we even thought of selling it. So there it goes right down there. Boom bap. So that's on that side. If you're interested in formula, there you go. I believe it's going to be a game changer here. Do you ship to the UK? I am not sure. Send me an email, vincentstory@gmail.com. Let me get back to you. I'm still working on finding ways to add discounts. So, because what I want to do is, if you buy it from here or something like that, you get 5% off or $2 or $3 off or something like that. So I'm still working on that. So give me some patience, guys. And we're also going to create some contests and stuff like that for people that promote the band or whatever. I mean, the brand or whatever. So there's a lot of things going on. Ranter Matt says, Ranter Matt, by the way, has a channel himself, and eventually we're gonna find topics where he and I can, jump on this show. Ranter Matt is more, I really don't know how to categorize him, much like everybody now in Middle America. Okay. Your baby formula was actually a prayer offer. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said we would send you some for free, and I am absolutely willing and able to follow through on that for you. So send me an email to your address, Michelle, and we'll get that out to you. Okay. So here we go. Let's see Anna Kasparian's concerns about Kanye West. And I think all of us are pretty much calibrated on what he said about the Jews. I didn't see a lot of what he said, but I saw what he said on Twitter, and I was like, holy smokes. No bueno. No bueno. Okay, so here we go, guys. Here we go. Kanye West versus Anna Kasparian. Let's do it.
On, anti-Semitism and George Floyd. He also decided to weigh in.
Yeah, the George Floyd thing was interesting. So I guess Kanye said that, George Floyd didn't die from a knee in the neck. He was ODing, yada, 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 yada. So he's kind of like all over the place. I honestly, guys, haven't been able to sit down and watch either one of those interviews all the way straight through. When I do, I'll let you know. Yeah, I did like the look. I do like the look, Michelle, because, we're metalheads, so I love the goth look. All right, guys, here we go. Shout out to Philly Steve, my brother, my man, my pilot. He knows what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Kanye West complains oh boy. Oh, that's what happened. Okay.
And on the topic of reproductive rights and abortion, and
that's such an interesting phrase, reproductive rights. Scientifically speaking, you have reproduced at the moment of conception. So the euphemistic phrase reproductive rights is just so odd to me, because nobody's saying that women should not have the right to reproduce. So it's very fascinating.
This is something that I've heard repeated by right-wingers over and over again. So let's watch that, and I'll discuss.
Put out my White Lives Matter tee. The White Lives Matter tee don't say.
That's right. Ye trolled everybody. Ye, and who's the other lady? The Candace Owens. They're rocking a White Lives Matter tee. Everybody got all triggered. I mean, obviously White Lives Matter. And look, I think all of us are over the organization BLM. We know they're crooks, etc. Obviously, that was designed to trigger people. It was designed to get attention, and because people don't have any discipline, mission accomplished. I don't believe that Kanye has spoken for black people in some pretty unpopular contexts. You remember the George Bush doesn't care about black people situation. Like, that made him massively unpopular to certain demographics of folks. You guys got to understand, with hip hop, especially the kind of hip hop that Kanye is part of, it is mostly patronized by white suburban kids. So for Ye to step out there back in the day was a serious thing. Candace Owens was never really on our side. So, I mean, it's 6.5 dozen. What are you going to do? Okay. Who is Candace? It's Candace Owens. Trigger everyone right before her documentary releases. Exactly. I thought it was a brilliant move of social media manipulation. And I think we might do a BLM watch along with her documentary with Candace Owens. We might do a documentary relative to BLM. that she did. We might do a watch along. If there's enough interest from you guys, and you guys tell me that you want to do the full watch along, I mean, I bought the thing, so if you guys want to do the watch along, we can. I guess that'll be a community decision. In my view, it's kind of like we already know that those people are corrupt. We already know they're sellouts. We already know they took all that money and moved into a gated white community, and then said that they got rich off of white guilt money. Just completely gross, nasty individuals. But anyway, here we go. Anna Kasparian. Here we go. Yeah, mom is doing good. If you're a praying person, please continue to pray, because that one was pretty rough, and she's still recovering, and I'm still, doing, what I can to support those things. Shout out to Kate McCoy. Anna is so astonishingly wrong. I gotta post this because I don't recognize Shorty. Anna is so astonishingly wrong most of the time. It's hard to stomach her voice. Yeah, it's a weird phenomenon. Like, I see a lot of you guys, and Soraya can't. Soraya, sometimes she'll be sleeping. You know what I'm saying? And I'll turn on TYT because I still believe in them or whatever to a degree. But Anna's voice woke Sori up one time. No bullshit. Literally arose her from the dead. It was unbelievable. Okay, so yeah, you guys can talk to me about Candace's doc. If you guys want us to watch the documentary from Candace Owens and a watch along, we can do that. We did that with Ukraine on Fire, that type of thing. And then Kate McCoy is gangster because in her first post she got Applejack affirming her, which that's not easy to do. Okay, here we go.
It don't say DEF CON or nothing on it, right? I'm like, put it out, and he's telling me like, yo, I want you to visit the Holocaust Museum, and I was like, yo, I want you to visit Planned Parenthood. That's our Holocaust Museum.
Oh, I see. Okay, so Planned Parenthood is the main abortion provider in America. And there have been 65 closures of Planned Parenthoods around America since the Dobbs decision came down, which is very fascinating because people keep telling me that Planned Parenthood really doesn't make any money off of abortion and it's only 3% of what they do. So why did 65 of you shut down once abortion got smashed in certain states then, if it's only 3% of what you do? It might only be 3% of what you do, but you generate hella revenue off of that. And so if abortion is banned, you're going to cut the 97% of the other services you have in that community. That's a mask off moment. Is Anna going to report on that? No, she's not going to report on that. All right. So look at Anna's face, bro. She's not impressed with the homie. She is not impressed with Kanye at all. I understand. She's a little bit tight right now. I get it. I understand, Anna. Here we go.
Women, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their race is, regardless of where they are in life, should have complete control over their bodies.
That's a statement that's made that's not a very reflective statement. Dear listener, the vast majority of our laws are restrictions on what we can do with our body. If I run into a bank and I rob that bank and the police officer, and I've got the little money bag, I don't know how they do it. We would probably just force, a digital balance transfer, to be honest with you, in the modern day. But let's just go with the stuff that I grew up with. You go in there, give me all your money, put all the money in the thing, and you start doing the dash, right? And the popos show up and they go, yo, what you doing? You gotta stop what you're doing. And I go, no, I'm not stopping what I'm doing. And they go, no, you just robbed the bank. They say, you're under arrest. And I say, no, I don't consent to you handcuffing me and putting me in the back of your cruiser. This is a violation of my bodily autonomy. The vast majority of the laws, dear listener, are restrictions on what you can do with your body. You can't do anything you want with your body. Hell, dear listener, you cannot even depress your foot on your gas pedal with too much pounds of pressure before Popo will start blue lighting you and pulling you over to the side of the street, dear listener. These are facts. Now, I understand that this is such an emotional and visceral topic that people start losing their ability to reason. but can we just reason together? Most of our laws are restrictions on what you can do with your body, right? Like the bank robber analogy, I didn't like telepathically get that money. I had to employ my body to make that robbery occur. Anna is you know, she's talking about crime. Crime has been a big thing for Anna recently. And, you know, recently, I got to tell you, Anna shared a story where she was essentially sexually assaulted in public. She was walking her dog, and I'm not even going to describe what happened. I put it up on Twitter, and I said, this is not right. I'm not a fan of Anna Kasparian, but it's not right what happened to her if what happened to her the way she described it. That was terrible. So, but the fact of the matter is that guy did something with his body onto her body. So, again, the vast majority of our laws are restrictions on what you can do with your body. I don't care if you're a man, woman, child, whatever. Most laws restrict what we can do with our body. We continue.
They should have complete control over their bodies when we're dealing with either an embryo, a zygote, a fetus that is clearly not viable outside the womb.
This is such a strange argument to me. Well, there's two strange. There are two strange arguments here, where she says, you know, an embryo, a zygote, et cetera, et cetera. I had some of these conversations in the hospital while I was on Twitter because I couldn't get to sleep because, as I said, you know, we had a tough time, but our sister. You know, these are strange statements to me, to be honest with you. We have talked about this before, but let's do this again. Here's Encyclopedia Britannica.
Equating a woman, including black women.
Whoa. Yeah, we'll talk about black women in a second, but here's Encyclopedia Britannica. And here is Encyclopedia Britannica's definition of what an embryo is. And I think it's really, really, really fascinating because she keeps saying stuff like this and it's very odd. I asked the person, I said, do you accept Encyclopedia Britannica as a viable outlet for knowledge? Here you go. Embryo. The early developmental stage of an animal while is in the egg or within the uterus of the mother. In humans, the term is applied to the unborn child until the end of the 7th week following conception. From the 8th week, the unborn child is called a fetus. Okay? So right there, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, an embryo is simply another term for a child. The embryonic stage is a stage in development of a human being. In the same way that I would say I now have a newborn infant, and I also have 2 toddlers, and I have 2 teenagers, and I celebrated Dorian's birthday yesterday, and after the next birthday, he will be a quote adult because he will be 18 years old. These are just simply stages of human development. So when she says stuff like this, it's kind of like, what is she talking about? Are you really suggesting that an embryo is not a human being? We've already shown you the definition of fetus, where it talks about a fetus is an unborn human baby, 8 weeks gestation. We've heard about that. So why, I mean, it literally says baby, okay? Here's the NHS, you and your baby at 8 weeks pregnant. A fetus is an unborn human baby. That is the technical definition of the term. An embryo is a child. So Anna, what we're talking about in abortion, whether you're killing children at the embryonic stage or you're killing children at the fetal stage, what we're talking about, Anna, is killing babies. That's not my opinion. That's Encyclopedia Britannica. That's the Mayo Clinic. That's Oxford English Dictionary. Okay, so I don't know exactly why she continues to do this when she says these people are fighting over embryos and fetuses. Well, yeah, because we don't like killing babies. Like, that's a problem. We continue.
Women, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their race is, regardless of where they are in life, should have complete control over their bodies.
We covered that. Anna doesn't believe that. Anna doesn't believe that women or anybody should be able to do whatever the hell they want with their bodies. Anna believes that we need to put more people in prison. Anna believes that we should have more law enforcement, right? So she doesn't believe that. We continue.
They should have complete control over their bodies when we're dealing with either an embryo, a zygote, a fetus that is clearly not viable outside the womb.
That's the other argument. We should be able to kill the child in the womb because he's not viable outside the womb. In other words, they say because the child is dependent on the mother's body for survival, she should then be able to kill it. But this makes absolutely no logical sense, especially in our current society. Dear listener, I have a 3-day-old, and it is currently 45 degrees outside in Maine. If I took that 3-year-old in the name of my spatial autonomy, because I don't want him in my space anymore, and I put him outside, he would die. And if the police showed up to my door and said, "Hey, what the hell is wrong with you? You left your kid out here to die?" And I say, "Hey, I left him out there because he was completely dependent on us for survival." And the cop said, "Right, that's why we're arresting you." Dear listener, we've got to feed that boy. We have to change him. We have to do literally everything for him because he's completely dependent on us. Now, I don't necessarily have to feed my 2.5, 3-year-old. We can put the little chicken nuggets on there, and he's got teeth and fingers, and he's got a good pincher, and he can guide the food to his mouth. And I've got a 17-year-old that I don't do anything for. Because quite frankly, if he wanted to be emancipated last year, he could have been, because he is essentially independent. Dear listener, my obligations as a parent increase with the degree to which my child is dependent on me. It only decreases when the child becomes independent. So this logic is unbelievably strange and logically inconsistent. Parents are more obligated the more the child is dependent on them. They are less obligated the less the child is dependent on them. So my newborn is the most dependent person in the house, and the person that I am obligated as a parent to show the most care for, because he's the most dependent. When you fill out your taxes, you know what your children are classified as? You have that right. Dependence. Now here's Brett. It does if the mother's life is endangered. Brett, in what situation would abortion be the solution for a life endangerment of a woman? I'd like to know. Okay. So we continue. Let's keep going.
Equating a woman, including Black women, making a decision about their reproductive issues, about whether or not they're ready to be children, ready to have children and be parents, equating that to the Holocaust.
Well, there's a lot of women who are not ready to be parents, and so what they do is they give their child up for adoption. They don't kill their child. So we're not talking about women who are in exigent circumstances that need help. What we're talking about is the killing of a baby, as defined by Oxford, as defined by the Mayo Clinic, as defined by Encyclopedia Britannica. What we're talking about is killing babies, Anna. That's what we're talking about.
Is literally insane. Just absolutely the most dishonest, disgusting argument anyone can make.
Okay, so Kanye made a comparison between abortion and the Holocaust. Anna Kasparian says it's dishonest and ridiculous and insane. That's okay. What I want to know is Anna going to explain to us why it's ridiculous and insane. The other question I want to know is, does Anna actually understand what the argumentation is that we're using when we make the correlation between the Holocaust and what's happening to children in the womb? Now, I will tell you, I agree with her that it's not a completely perfect analogy. There's one glaring flaw in the analogy between the Holocaust and abortion, and we'll talk about that soon. We continue.
Okay.
David says that's not the actual argument. The mother donates her blood and tissue to grow the offspring. Survival outside the womb is impossible up to a point. That's her point. Well, again, David, the point is that a mother is, and parents are obligated to care for the child the more the child is dependent on them. So the more the child is dependent on you, the more you have the obligation to care for them. That's why I don't wipe the bum of my 17-year-old child when he goes to the bathroom, but I do that for the newborn that I have because he's more dependent on me. And I would be a horrible father if I treated my 3-day-old like my 18-year-old. Right? We continue.
Holocaust slaughtered millions of people. They didn't have a...
We've killed 61 million children in abortion, Anna. So I don't really understand this argument here. Let me back it up a little bit. She said that Holocaust killed millions of people. Yeah, abortion has killed millions of babies. And again, that's not me using flowery language. I just showed you guys the Mayo Clinic. I just showed you Oxford English Dictionary, and I just showed you Encyclopedia Britannica. Those are babies, or as Britannica says, children. We continue.
Argument anyone can make. Okay, the Holocaust slaughtered millions of people. They didn't have a choice about whether or not they went into concentration camps.
A baby doesn't have a choice as to whether or not the sofa clamp is going to tear her legs off of her body, Anna. The baby doesn't choose that. That choice is made for them.
They didn't have a choice about whether or not they were going to die in gas chambers.
Baby doesn't have a choice as to whether or not she's going to be executed, have her stomach eviscerated and her skull crushed to a white substance exits her mother's cervix, which was her brains. She is then reconstructed in a little dish to make sure that none of her parts are still in her mother's body, so that the mother doesn't go into sepsis. Anna, so the baby didn't choose that either. So that's why we're saying, like, there is an analogy here. You're talking about what's happening to the victims of the Holocaust, and we're talking about what's happening to the victims of abortion.
They were forced to their death.
The baby's also forced to her death. All you have to do, dear listeners, Google the silent scream, and if you have a strong stomach, watch the video.
In this case, when we're talking about reproductive rights, it's women exercising autonomy and agency over their own bodies.
No, it's women exercising autonomy and agency over the body of a child. The woman's arms are intact at the end of the procedure, and her head and her brain are intact at the end of the procedure. Not so for the girl that she slaughtered in abortion. Not that she slaughtered it, but that the doctor did. What's fascinating here is that Anna, it's almost as if the baby is a complete non-factor for Anna. Obviously, when we're talking about the Holocaust, we're talking about what's happening to the babies, because the babies are the ones that are getting sliced and diced in the procedure, not the mother. So this is a really odd kind of comeback from Anna. We're a minute into a 4-minute video, and she's saying that Kanye's crazy, it's disgusting, it's dishonest. But everything she said about Jews in the Holocaust, we can apply to babies in the womb. We continue.
That's what it's about. It's about economic freedom. It's about making decisions about your own body. And equating that to the Holocaust is so disingenuous and so freaking disgusting, it boggles the mind. And
okay, but how is it different? How is it different, though? You're not telling us. You're asserting that it's different, but you're not explaining to us why it's different. Like, for example, I don't believe they're different. And so because of that, I just explained to everybody why it's not different, right? So your job is to come back and explain to us why it's so different.
I find it rich for someone like Kanye West, who has unlimited resources, to spout off about reproductive rights and how wrong it is for women to get to make a decision about their own bodies, especially in the context of putting himself in this like area of victimhood. He looks at himself as such an incredible victim.
Well, a lot of famous people usually look at themselves as victims. That's true, but I'm not particularly certain about this particular clip as to how Kanye is victimizing himself. He didn't get aborted. Obviously, he's here. What he's saying is that the abortion clinic is the new gas chamber. That's not a statement of victimization, Anna, about him.
Of whoever the perpetrators are. Lately, it's Jewish people in his mind. Even though he's a multi-millionaire who's
Kanye's a billionaire, I think, actually.
Living in the lap of luxury.
Yeah, but you're a millionaire, Anna. You're also a millionaire, Anna. You're also in the lap of luxury, Anna. That's why you don't want them homeless people around you. What you want? We continue.
And I have no interest in hearing about what he thinks women should and should not do with their own bodies, especially when it comes to something as serious as childbearing in a country that offers absolutely no economic support for women.
Whoa! She called it childbearing. Okay, this is progress. Okay, so it's childbearing. Okay, great, childbearing. Thank you, Anna. Okay, so what you're saying is, out of your own mouth, Anna, that when a woman is pregnant, she is actually with child. So now the question is, Anna, should we kill children or should we protect them? I'd like to know. And anybody that supports this practice, should we kill children or protect them? That's the question. We continue.
And who do want to have children. So spare me your BS where you equate reproductive rights to the Holocaust. That is
reproductive rights. What you know, you guys know where I'm at with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. But you know, these people are hilarious to me because they really believe that we don't know what they're doing. It's not an invasion, it's a special military operation. That's what Vladimir Putin is saying. Nah, my guy, nah, you invaded those people. You invaded those people. Special military operation. It's like, it's so hilarious to me because it's like, none of us knows what's going on. It looked like an invasion. It smelled like an invasion. It sounded like an invasion, but it's not. It's a special military operation. It looks like we're killing children. It looks like we're disassembling babies alive. It looks like we're poisoning them to death and passing them on a toilet as if they're waste, which they get classified as medical waste by these wonderful people. But it's not. It's about reproductive rights. That's called verbal engineering. And it's only done by propagandists when they're trying to convince people of something that they know is evil and wrong, or when they're trying to convince the voice of their own conscience that what they're doing is evil and wrong. We continue.
So incredibly disgusting. I'm so sick of hearing that argument from right-wingers. They think they're so clever when they say it. It's just gross.
Okay, well then refute the argument. Don't say it's gross. Shout out to Joe to go. Don't say it's gross and it's dumb and all using all this emotional language, right? Tell us exactly why it's not working. Tell us why the argument doesn't work. I'd like to know.
So here's an irony. He says, "Oh, did you know that one of the founders of Planned Parenthood originally believed in eugenics?" Which, by the way, is true. That part, it's a rare thing that is true, but it's obviously long gone, and nobody involved in Planned Parenthood believes that anymore. It doesn't come within miles and miles of believing that.
Okay, that's long gone. That's long gone. Okay, all right. Well, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? Here we go. Here's Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. This is an April 8th argument, 1923. Apostle of birth control sees her cause winning in America is what it's titled in New York Times. I have a New York Times subscription that I pay for, so I get access to this. Birth control summed up our whole philosophy. Birth control is not contraception indiscriminately and thoughtlessly practiced. It means the release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extirpation. To extirpate means to pull up from the roots. Extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization. We got human weeds in this country that we need to pull up by the roots. Dear listener, we need to pull up these human weeds by the roots. Kate McCoy says, that sounds like eugenics. Oh, Sister Kate McCoy, check this out. Same article. The results of the intelligence test, which was a racist sort of heuristic, but we could talk about that another time. The menace of indiscriminate immigration, the fertility of the unfit, and the increasing burden upon the healthful and vigorous members of American society of the delinquent and dependent classes. Not only was Margaret Sanger and the progenitors of Planned Parenthood eugenists, they were also classist and racist and ableist. And that's the reason why, who are the main targets of Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry? The low class, the poor, the disabled, and people of color. More black babies aborted in New York City than born for 2 years straight. More black babies aborted than born in the most populous city per capita in the United States of America. Here's Cenk Uygur saying, oh, that's long gone. Nobody believes that anymore. Really, Cenk? Then why in the world, Cenk, does abortion disproportionately affect the black community and black women to this degree to where more of them are being aborted than born? Cenk? What do you mean it's long gone? What does long gone mean? Dear listener, here's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not long gone. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died recently. Here is what our good friend RBG said relative to this topic. She's talking about the Hyde Amendment, where the Supreme Court struck down the idea that you could use American tax dollars to directly pay for abortions. Here was her response. The ruling about that surprised me. Frankly, I had thought at the time that Roe was decided there was concern about population growth, and particularly, now watch this, growth in populations that I had one of these RBG fans who were telling me that she was talking about other people and that she's not a racist eugenist. She was talking about other people. I'm sorry, but the term we is an inclusive pronoun. There was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want too many of. Now, what populations, dear listener, could she be talking about? Here's Cenk saying, no, but look, eugenists are long gone. This was recent. This is the last 10 years. What are you talking about, Cenk? This is long gone. Oh, no, my brother. Oh, no. It's not long gone. It's not long gone, Cenk. You had Miss Supreme Court who was mocking Colin Kaepernick, saying that Kaepernick's protest was stupid. And by the way, she got on there and said that there were certain people in the populations that we don't want too many of. So I'm surprised about the Hyde Amendment. Well, what populations would those be? I don't know. I mean, let's see. What populations do people that are disposed to think this way What do they want to get rid of? Well, here is, this is actually on the congress.gov website, actually. So this is on the website of the United States Congress. Okay. So this is unbelievable. Here is the quotation of Richard Nixon talking about votes relative to abortion and why abortion got passed and what the reasoning was going to be. Here it is, because Jen told us that nobody associated with Planned Parenthood or the pro-abortion movement has any sort of eugenic ideology at all. That's long gone. Oh, it's long gone. Okay. All right. Let's see. It's long gone. No, that's what Jen is telling us. Okay. Well, here's what the congress.gov website tells us. A majority of people in Colorado voted for abortion. By the way, Colorado has no gestational limits. You can go to drhearn.com, where he will tell you that he will disassemble your child alive in the womb in the 3rd trimester for such crimes as having Down syndrome and trisomy 21. I think trisomy 21's Down syndrome, and then trisomy 18, etc., etc. He will kill your 3rd trimester child for $10,000 if that child commits the crime of having Down syndrome. Now, dear listener, what does Down syndrome have to do with bodily autonomy? Nothing. So why do these people keep telling us about bodily autonomy when people are traveling over there to Colorado to kill their children because they commit the crime of having Down syndrome? I am against abortion, but there are rare situations that don't exist with Nazis killing Jews. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So let's read this, shall we? A majority of people in Colorado voted for abortion. I think a majority of people in Michigan are for abortion. I think in both cases, well, certainly in Michigan, they will vote for it. Abortion. Why? Because they think that that's what's going to be aborted generally are the little black bastards. Richard Nixon, President of the United States of America. His explanation for why abortion got passed was because folks in America wanted to get rid of those little black bastards. And wouldn't you know it, those little black bastards are getting killed more than they are born in New York City. As I told you, we talked about it earlier, that a hell of a lot of people want to control the Negro bastards. This is on a .gov website in Congress, dear listener. You know what we're talking about, population control. We're talking really, and what John Rockefeller really realizes, look, the people in what we call our class control, their population, class control. Remember when Margaret Sanger was talking about classes and the unfit, etc., and she's going to use birth control as a weapon against the unfit to extirpate the human weeds? Here we are. These black bastards, they have families of 6, 7, or 8. These are only a few of the sentiments Nixon expressed in 1972, long gone, though, according to Cenk, exposing the genesis of his thinking when he announced the conclusion and recommendations of the 1969 Population Control Commission, headed by John Rockefeller. That population control is a subset of eugenics, Cenk. I thought you said it was long gone. It was in the spirit of these sentiments that Cecile Richards, president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, invited the Republican Party to return to its family planning roots. Believing Planned Parenthood no longer needed to hide the population control impetus of her organizations, Richards stated, a lot of Republicans used to support family planning, and Richard Nixon signed the first federal planning program into law. There's a clear pathway to win back women's support, and it's to listen to the middle of their party instead of the extreme fringe. The family planning mantra is a euphemism for abortion, is no longer buried in the pages of Planned Parenthood's tax document as it was in 2008. Planned Parenthood, believing abortion is so entrenched in the culture that it cannot be removed, now openly exposes what had been hidden, the work of controlling birth rates of those who they consider dysgenic, meaning to be a lower stock of human being. So when Cecile Richards was the president of Planned Parenthood up to, I believe, 2012, 2013. So when these people say, when Cenk says, oh, that was back in the days of Margaret Sanger, he didn't mention Margaret Sanger because they've never come out and spoken out against Margaret Sanger's racism, ableism, sexism. They've never done anything exposing that and refuting that and repudiating that. What he said was, oh, that's in the past. And we just saw RBG. No. RBG talked about it 10 years ago. Here we go. Cecile Richards, what she did was she appealed to Richard Nixon relative to family planning with abortion. But wait a second. We saw why Richard Nixon passed those elements of legislation. We just saw it was to get rid of and to control the population of the little black bastards or the little Negro bastards. You guys saw it with your own two eyes, dear listener. You know, I showed this to one of my very non-racist white neoliberal friends. And I said, how come Anna and the rest of you guys are talking about how you're so concerned for people of color? Because now they're going to be stuck in poverty for abortion when everybody knows that that abortion is not going to rescue black women from poverty. Because black women are the poorest demographic in the country and they have the most abortions. You know what rescues black women from poverty? Marriage. How comes Anna and Cenk and the rest of these people, how come I don't hear anybody on the left telling black women that? How come when I drive around neighborhoods and I see, signs, they're about choices. You have choices to kill your little Negro baby, your little Negro black bastard baby. How come there's no feminist leftist white people coming out and saying, black woman, if you want to get out of poverty, abortion ain't where it's at. If you want to get out of poverty, you should marry somebody. Yeah, them little black bastards are profitable. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I got corrected again by my brother. Then Anna and Cenk, you see how patient these people are with me because they understand I'm ignorant? Anna and Cenk aren't on the left. Call them liberals. Okay, white neoliberals. Sorry. The neoliberals are telling us, they keep telling black people that in order to get out of poverty, you need to abort black children. These are the same people that pretend that they're worried about black women's maternal mortality rates. And these people keep bringing up maternal mortality because abortion is a fix for maternal mortality. Well, wait a second. Black women are mortalizing their children at a rate 5x more than white women, but they have the highest form of maternal mortality. How come? You know, one of the things that they don't tell you, these pro-abortion people, is that as of 1995, the CDC also had abortion as one of the factors for maternal mortality in black women. But you're not going to hear about that. This institution was started by racists. They were started by eugenists. That is an incontrovertible fact of fact. And there is none of these people who are supposedly care so much about black people is ever going to admit that, but it's a fact. Here, this is again still on the congress.gov website. This is unbelievable, but here we go. Check these numbers out there, listener. Planned Parenthood targets minority neighborhoods. Again, this is on the congress.org of the United.gov, not .org, .gov of the United States of America. Here are the percentage of Planned Parenthood surgical abortion facilities in minority neighborhoods. You know, when I describe crushing the baby's skull until the white substance exits the mother's cervix, that's a sofa clamp that did that to that little boy. 79% of surgical abortion facilities are posted up in black and minority neighborhoods. 21% of them are posted up in white neighborhoods when white women outnumber and out-average black women in America. Now, why would that be? Why would it be? I don't know. Maybe somebody can answer that. Maybe somebody can answer that question because I'm not particularly certain what the answer to that question is. It might have something to do with the fact that when the foundation of your organization is eugenics, ableism, racism, ageism, if that's your foundation, then the house you build on it is going to do the same thing. At the end of the day, those little Negro bastards are just a meal ticket for these people. Yes, I will post the .gov article. Let me bring up my chat tool here, and I will post that congress.gov article because it's extremely damning. I've showed it to a bunch of white neoliberals, and none of them have ever responded to me about it. It's very fascinating. Very, very fascinating stuff, because these people are supposed to be, you know, the leaders of truth, justice, and the American way, right? They're supposed to be, hey, we love black people. It's those Republicans that are racist. So let me log in here for my little brother Ian. Post the text I just sent you. Now I'm worried now, my brother. But Applejack's my brother, so I gotta do that shit. Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Who put this up here? This shit is crazy. I'm about to show y'all something. This shit is hilarious to me. But let me post this link here. The name of the article is the .gov article is Policy Report: The Effects of Abortion on the Black Community. And none of these white neoliberals are ever going to touch this shit because they're all racist as hell. And if you're black and you think these white neoliberals love you, you think they're really worried about you? Nah, bro. If they were really worried about black women and the black experience, what they would say is, get married, black woman. That's the way out of poverty. Abortion is not the way out of poverty, and it's also not the way out of maternal mortality. Black woman, you kill your children at a rate 5 times more than everybody else, and you're still the poorest. You're still the poorest. And you're still dying in maternal mortality. It's not childbirth mortality, dear listener. It's maternal mortality. It's a dirty little secret. They don't want to show you that abortion also contributed to the mortality effects of black women. They don't want to show you that. You think these people care about black people? You dumb as hell. You deserve what you get. I had one of these very nice, non-racist neoliberals when I told them that more black babies are aborted than born in the most populous city in the United States for 2 straight years in a row. He said, well, black people are still around. So I guess we don't have to worry about the Holocaust because Jews are still around. We continue. We continue. Holy shit.
And so it's just like a little historical asterisk, and he thinks he's clever by.
It's a historical asterisk. I just showed you Cecile Richards, who's a contemporary of ours. I just showed you RBG, who was a contemporary of ours. May God forgive her. I just showed you Richard Nixon. These are not asterisks of history.
Pointing it out. But in the same breath, in the same interview, he talked about how all the Jews are the same, which would be basically.
I don't know if Kanye said all the Jews are the same. I would like to believe that Ye didn't say that, but I mean, I did see Ye say that, you know, black people are Jews too, because we're the, you know, children of Israel, which is black Israelite theology. So from that vantage point, then, as a matter of fact, he said we are Jews also. And technically in black Israelite theology, the people that call themselves Jews today over in Israel, they would say that those are not Jews at all. So, but anyway, I have to know what he actually said. I have to know what he actually said. But if he did say that, obviously, fuck him for saying that. He's wrong. We continue.
A racial eugenic argument for, oh, well, the Jews.
Wait, hold on.
Same interview, he talked about how all the Jews are the same, which would be basically a racial eugenic argument for, oh, well, the Jews, they're structured this way. They're all the same. Can you believe how terrible eugenics is?
That's not eugenics, Cenk. That might be stereotypical. That might be racist. That might be anti-Semitic. But that's not a eugenic idea. As a matter of fact, him saying that the Jews are in control of, which I'm assuming is what he said, that the Jews are in control, because that's what black Israelites believe, is saying that the Jews are inordinately powerful. The eugenists are not saying that black people are inordinately powerful. What they're saying is that we're weeds and that we're a drain on society and that we need to be plucked up by the root and that we need to eliminate them from the gene pool so that we can kind of give natural selection a little boost. That's eugenics, Jenk, not what you just said. This is one of the things that gets me about these people is that they'll say stuff and they'll just keep going with it with full confidence when they're completely wrong. We continue.
You're making a eugenics argument by saying that all Jews are the same, let alone the fact that you're making a lunatic argument, which then brings me to the last point. Look, I think Kanye is so disturbed that if he wasn't a multi-millionaire, like at this point, he might be in a straitjacket bouncing off walls.
This to me is just, I try to be, as a lot of people, my brother told me, I just had a conversation. My brother said, that hurt my feelings when you said that you still watch the Young Turks. But they go off and say stuff like this, and it's just odd to me. And still, Cenk is not saying, hey, the Holocaust has no correlation whatsoever to this situation. He's not making an argument. He's once again just he did make an argument and said it was eugenics, which we just discovered is completely afactual, but we continue.
And so now he says, though, he knows better than all women. Women shouldn't get to decide what to do with their bodies and their entire lives, by the way. But Kanye should.
We already talked about this. Of course, nobody believes that women or men or children should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies. That's why we have laws. The vast majority of our laws are restrictions on what we can do with our bodies. I cannot use my body to choke you to death, Cenk. So you guys just have to come up with something else. We continue.
Decide for them. You think we're going to go into a mental asylum and check in? Hey, what does Kanye think I should do with my life and my body? Oh, thank you, dictator Kanye. I'll now go do that.
So if you believe that babies should not be killed in this brutal fashion, you are now a dictator. I'm assuming, I don't know how far Cenk is down this rabbit hole, but I'm assuming that Cenk would say that we probably shouldn't use our bodies to strangle newborns to death. I don't know, maybe. But here's Cenk. Look at Cenk's occupation according to Wikipedia. Political commentary, media host, lawyer, propagandist. Shout out to the homie. Cenk, our concern is that we know that embryos are children, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. We know that fetuses, according to the Mayo Clinic, as well as the Oxford English Dictionary, and many other clinics and medical outlets and medical papers, we know that a fetus is a baby. We know that. And what we're saying is we don't like when babies are killed. That we've got to come up with a different solution. We know that our sisters are having serious medical concerns. We need to come up with different solutions to help those women while simultaneously respecting life. Cenk, that's what's happening. Address that argument. We continue.
And then ironically, they'll say, oh, we're right-wingers because we believe in freedom. Do you?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Louisiana's abortion ban created by a woman? Well, I personally know the people that drafted that ban. And the original ban had the death penalty for women who had abortions. And it was a woman who basically who headed up and said, no, we're taking that out. We're not going after women, which I support 150,000%. Do not support prosecuting women for abortions. All you have to do is get the abortionist. You find them 10 grand, you strip their license, and you give them 6 months in prison. And you'll see what happens to abortion post haste. There's no reason for us to go after women. And people say, oh, you're being inconsistent. No, I'm not. The reason is because I've been there. I've been out there. I've seen dudes shove women into the clinic. Sori said, hey, I can help you. And the girl turned around and started walking towards Sori and her boyfriend in front of the feminists in the pink vests and the off-duty police officer who was collecting a little bonus check. In front of both of them, he grabbed that girl and shoved her into the building. And I've seen that on numerous occasions. It's another girl I talked to. I kind of talked her out of it, and then we started kind of having a little relationship. And I said, if you named this child, why are you going to go there to board it? Then I find out, obviously, that she was being sex trafficked. And that her nice, smiley little boyfriend was not her boyfriend out there. He was actually her pimp. So you want me to support executing that girl, but the pimp gets to go off scot-free? No. It's the same, my same opinion on sex work. I am never, ever going to penalize women for surviving. Men, we created this ridiculous culture, and we're the ones that's promoting this nonsense. You know, Ian brought something up that's very, very important here, because they keep using this tired rhetoric. Oh, it's just a bunch of white men that are making all these decisions. Dear listener, it was actually a bunch of white men that passed Roe v. Wade in the beginning. That's number one. And number two, almost every single pro-life outlet, life site, news, whatever you want to call it, every direct action operation group I've been a part of or know about, all of them almost are exclusively run by women. When we got out there, I was Johnny come lately. Shorty had been out there for a decade before us. You know why? Because she was sex trafficked, and they made her get 6 abortions because her being pregnant wasn't good for business. So they made her kill 6 of her children. And she was so broken and destroyed, and she found Jesus. And then once she repented, she got up and she's dedicated her life to ending this scourge in our country. You know what's funny? She would be out there with her daughters. I'd be out there with my daughter. Sori would be out there with her daughter. And the wonderful pro-choice men would say, I cannot wait till your daughter gets raped. You ever notice how the most vocal supporters of abortion are men? But we continue. We continue. And yeah, Ian is right. Criminalizing women would end up hurting trafficked girls. Correct. And I've exposed this on numerous occasions. It is a fact that abortion is part and parcel to every successful sex trafficking operation. That's not me saying that. That's the U.S. government saying that.
You don't believe in freedom at all. You think we should listen to your dumbass. No deal. Thanks.
Well, look, when you play a sport, it's important that there are some restrictions to freedom, because if there isn't, then nobody enjoys anything. What do I mean by that? In basketball, you can only hold the ball and take 2 steps. Now, the NBA has decided, because of James Harden, that you can add a 3rd step. The reason these rules are important is it's the same thing with the shot clock. There's a 24-second shot clock. You've got 24 seconds to hit the rim and put a shot up. Why? Because if there was no shot clock, I could hit 1 basket, and then what I could do is I could hold the ball for the rest of the game, and the game would be absolutely intolerable to watch. So we have rules actually to increase the enjoyment, actually. But obviously there has to be a balance. We continue.
For watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jenk. Thank you, Jenk. Thank you, Anna, for presenting that. Now, one of the things that's really interesting to me is I actually found an amicus brief, or amicus brief, whatever you want to call it. Is there are groups that write and tell the Supreme Court, hey, this is what we think, yada, yada, yada. So here is an amicus brief that was sent to the Supreme Court by Jews. What I'm about to read you guys is from Jews. And they wrote this giving their opinion relative to the Dobbs decision. And yes, dear listener, once again, this is another .gov website, supremecourt.gov. You know your boy Vinny always comes with the receipts. I'm going to put the .gov in the chat, and I'm going to share my screen now, and we are going to go on an adventure and see what the Jewish opinion is relative to this discussion. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, you guys can see it there, inshallah. Here is the Jewish experience throughout history as state-sponsored targets of genocide and eugenics give us a unique opportunity to recognize the injustices wrought on our innocent unborn brothers and sisters in the womb. These are Jews who are writing this, please. These are Jewish people who are writing this. And they are making a correlation between the Jewish experience in the last 150 to 200 years and abortion. Let's see what they have to say, inshallah. Jewish victims of genocide throughout history have been redefined as subhuman, legally stripped of personhood and civil liberties, tortured and murdered. Similarly, infant life in the womb is redefined as subhuman, legally stripped of personhood and civil liberties, tortured and murdered. There is the correlation, Anna. Jenk, are these Jewish people? Are these Jewish people who wrote to the Supreme Court of the United States, Anna, Jenk, are they also crazy like Kanye? Are they crazy? You gonna call those Jewish men and women who authored this amicus brief and sent it to the Supreme Court? You're gonna say that they're crazy too? I think if you said that, you'd probably be anti-Semitic, right? Because, you know, a guy that names his show The Young Turks obviously has a real problem with anybody who would celebrate genocide. We continue. Pro-abortion advocates deliberately employ propaganda successfully utilized by Adolf Hitler to reconstruct compassion and concern for women facing unplanned or unwanted pregnancy into lethal tools that facilitate elimination of infant life, per Gonzalez at 159. Evidence of this technique is exposed in a memo dispatched to a Nazi indoctrination outlet. We must use every means to install in the population the idea that it is harmful to have several children, the expenses that they cause, and the dangerous effect on women's health. It will be necessary to open special institutions for abortions, and doctors must be able to help out there in case there is any question of this being a breach of their professional ethics. That's Adolf Hitler, dear listener. That's Adolf Hitler. That is Adolf Hitler who said that. Now, I saw that queued up and I said, man, I got to find that quote. When did Hitler say that? Where did that come from? Because you guys know how I get down. Here you go. This is it's from an article by Tessa Colucci, MD. Doctors, pregnancies, childbirth, and abortion during the Third Reich. This is really fascinating stuff, dear listener. Look at this, dear listener. Here we go. And here's the quote. Here's the quote right here. Abortion was used as a weapon of mass destruction in Eastern Europe in 1942. Together with his personal physician, Dr. Karl Brandt, and Secretary Martin Bormann, Hitler issued one of the most extreme policy statements of the Nazi regime, which I just read to you. We're not interested in seeing the non-German population multiply. And they are not interested in seeing the non-white Aryan population in America multiply, as we heard from Margaret Sanger and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Richard Nixon and Cecile Richards. They're not interested in seeing them multiply. We must use every means to have to install in the population the idea that it is harmful to have several children. Where have we heard that before, dear listener? The expenses that they cause and the dangerous effect on women's health. It will be necessary to open special. Oh, women's health. This is Adolf Hitler. He didn't care about these people's health. He said, I don't want these people to reproduce. Let's use the economy and women's health. Dear listener, what do we hear every single time somebody brings up abortion? Oh my God, if this doesn't happen, women are going to die. I'd say, tell me these abortions that need to happen to save the life of the mother. Tell me about these abortions that need to happen. Tell me about why we would have to kill an 8-month-old in the womb over there in Colorado to save the mother's life. What malady, dear listener, would that be? Chris says, Vin, what Jewish organization submitted that brief? The name of the Jewish organization that submitted the brief is, I'll tell you in a second because it's up here. Amicus brief of Jewish Pro-Life Foundation for the Coalition of Jewish Values. So? What does that have to do with anything? Chris, when I quote the Guttmacher Institute, or when pro-death people quote the Guttmacher Institute, we all know the Guttmacher Institute is a reporting arm of Planned Parenthood. So what is the point of that? We're only going to listen to Jews. So which Jews are we worth listening to? Chris? Only pro-death Jews? So if these were pro-choice Jews, we should listen to them, but pro-life Jews we shouldn't listen to? You know what I'll do, Chris? Here's what I'll do. I will take what these Jews have to say on the merits of what they're saying. And that's why I went to find that, dig up that Adolf Hitler quote, because I wanted to verify it. Chris, that's what's called in logic the genetic fallacy. You're trying to invalidate what these Jewish people are saying, because you're trying to invalidate what they're saying and ignore what they're saying because it doesn't go along with what you're saying. Chris, if you wanted to refute what they're saying, show me what they're saying that is untrue. The fact of the matter is, Anna is not Jewish and Cenk isn't Jewish, and yet they felt that they had the ability to speak for Jewish people. Now we're actually hearing Jewish people, and now you're trying to imply that we shouldn't listen to these Jewish people because they're the wrong kind of Jews. Like I'm the wrong kind of Negro to listen to because I'm pro-life. Unbelievable. I'm going to continue reading, though, from these Jews. I know they're not the right Jews. but I'm gonna keep reading this. Holy shit, these people are desperate. That's why they're gonna lose. That's why y'all gonna lose. We continue. Here we go. Now let me finish this here. Now here's the article. Now this article is not written by a pro-lifer at all. This person is not a pro-lifer. She's just writing about this stuff. Okay. So we're looking at multiple articles here, guys. We're looking at multiple articles here. So this was unbelievable. So Hitler actually said, let's bring up the mother's health and let's bring up economic concerns to justify these abortion because we don't want to keep these people alive. Okay. Let me read the end of this article because it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Okay, Chris is not saying anything of the sort. Okay, fair enough, Chris. So we're going to listen to these Jewish people and we're going to judge what these Jewish people have to say on the merits of the facts that they present. How about that? Is that a good deal? Because we're logical people. We're not going to commit the genetic fallacy. Okay? All right, good. Now watch this. To most of the physicians, perpetrators, and victims alike, the icon of evil did not present itself as a whole. It happened an hour at a time, a patient at a time, and a decision at a time. The decisions and actions were undertaken by ordinary individuals, by ordinary doctors. There is wisdom in Hannah Arendt's description of Holocaust in the terms of the banality of evil. Who can confront the Holocaust and not be put on alert to evaluate scientific paradigms and the implications for public policy that flow from them, so that we as medical professionals and as human beings want and identify as good will be for the sake of respecting and saving a human life? They too will be asked and answered the question, who shall live and who shall die? Then and now the subject at hand is killing, letting die, helping to die, and using the dead. Then and now, the goal is to produce healthier human beings, end quote. Abortion was a major weapon that was used. Abortion was a major weapon that was used during the Holocaust. Those are facts, dear listener. Those are facts. Now, here's my brother, Bryce Scott. You don't have a uterus, Vin. You can't speak for all women. You can only speak for your wife. If your wife wants to have babies, so be it. But other white women should be able to have the choice to have as little babies or as many babies, as much sex and as little sex as they can. Says who, Bryce? Says who? Says you, Bryce, I don't believe that we should be able to kill babies because they are not economically feasible, or they will interrupt our sexual adventures. I don't think that's a good reason to kill a human being. Now let's go back to these Jews, because these Jews are saying there are correlations between the Holocaust and what's happening to babies. We continue. Commonplace descriptions of babies in the womb declare that the presence of arms and legs is not an indication of human life, and that the baby is nothing more than a parasite. I cannot tell you how many times I have listened to very many well-intentioned pro-choicers who say that the child in the womb is a parasite, which is scientifically incorrect. There's not an embryologist on the planet that will say that a child in the womb is a parasite. These lies rob infants in the womb of their humanity, dignity, and divinely created existence. The lies originated with Nazi propaganda when the subhumans and parasites in question were Jews in their shops, homes, synagogues, and yes, in their mother's womb. Consider the following illustrations found in the brochure, Abortion, the Hidden Holocaust. Okay, so please be clear what this Jewish guy is saying. This Jewish guy is saying they called us parasites. They did. They call us Untermenschen, subhuman. They did. And that is exactly what people are saying about the occupants of the womb. Christopher Sims, haven't you heard people do that? Haven't you heard people compare the babies in the womb? And we know that they're babies according to Encyclopedia Britannica, Oxford English Dictionary, and the Mayo Clinic. We know that. We know they're babies, right, Chris? Have you ever heard, Chris, people call babies in the womb parasites and say that they're not human? I have. We continue. In 1936, the German Supreme Court refused to recognize... Oh, come over here, Ya Rasul. Come here, Ya Habibi. Hey, how are you? Is it time for you to go night-night?
No.
I do think it's time for you to go night-night.
I'm going to the bathroom.
You gonna go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay. Say bye to the people before you get in trouble. Say bye, people.
Bye, people.
You see that right there? Wave.
Yeah.
Say bye, people.
Bye.
Okay.
People.
Say don't hurt babies.
Don't have babies.
Okay. Go. Go see mommy. Mommy wants you. Okay. Go. All right. That was a little break. We're gonna continue, guys. You are basically advocating for the law to force white women to have every child they conceive. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to force people not to kill children. The scripture says the law is for the lawless. So if you actually need the law to tell you that you should not kill an infant, hell yeah. I don't want people to be able to kill children. And again, Bryce, where do you see in the Constitution that anybody has the freedom to kill a child, to kill a baby? I don't know if you guys are hearing yourselves. We're talking about killing a baby. Unbelievable. Okay, so Chris Sims agrees with me. He has heard people dehumanize the occupants in the womb. So Chris, there is a correlation then, isn't there? Because Hitler dehumanized the occupants of the gas chambers. And they passed laws to ensure that those people were dehumanized. They were dehumanized. And here's another tactic that really evil people use. They use a tactic called depersonalization. What do I mean by depersonalization? Well, when you see somebody with two hands, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, they look exactly like a regular human being. And so it's impossible to say they're not a human being. So you know what you do? You say, well, yeah, they're human beings, but they're not human persons. Interesting. Human beings, but they're not human persons. Really? Hey, check this out, guys. Check this out. Bye. Do me a favor. Close the door, Ya Habibi. Okay. Here's our fetus. Here's our little fetus. This is the newest member. Shout out to Clarissa Hendershot. Negro. Here we go, guys. This led Thomas Lynch of South Carolina to utter the first threat of secession from the state, blustering that if Congress debated whether they're slaves or their property, then there would be an end to the Confederation, he argued. Our slaves being our property, why should they be taxed more than the land, sheep, cattle, horses, etc.? Pennsylvania's Benjamin Franklin, not easily intimidated, pungently replied that there was some difference between slaves and sheep, as sheep will never make a revolution. The Southerners, however, won the debate, and slaves were never counted for the allocation. That's talking about a census. They're saying they're not persons, they're like our animals. Look, here's Bryce. Personhood is defined by the law, right on time. Bryce doesn't realize that he just used an argument that white people were using to justify enslaving black people. Unbelievable. Let's continue reading. All this isn't admitted. Here we go. The link's right there. You can see it's in the Federalist Papers. It will perhaps be said, but does it follow from an admission of numbers of the measurement of representation or of slaves combined with free citizen as a ratio of taxation? Watch this. That slaves ought to be included in the numerical rule of representation. Slaves are considered as property, not as persons. I will say that again. They should be to be excluded from representation, which is regulated by a census of persons. The numerical rule of representation, slaves are considered as property, not as persons. The depersonalization argument has been used already. When pro-choicers realize that the facts are against them and that they know they're killing human babies, killing human beings, according to the science, the next thing they do is they add a subset and say, well, they're not persons though. So that means we can still kill them. That's exactly what happened to Jewish people in the Holocaust, and it's exactly what happened to black people in the antebellum period of slavery. You're arguing like a Nazi and a slaveholder. I am sorry, that's not me using rhetoric. I'm just telling you a fact. They recognized the humanity of the beings that they were enslaving and gassing, but the way they got around it morally was to say, yeah, but they're not persons though. Interesting. Very interesting. We continue. In 1936, the German Supreme Court refused to recognize Jews living in Germany as legal persons. From that point on, they had no rights or protection under the German Constitution. Interesting. Shortly thereafter, the Nazis began their final solution, putting 6 million Jews to death. Interesting. In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court, in its Roe v. Wade decision, ruled that unborn babies are not legal persons. From that point on, they had no rights or protection under the U.S. Constitution, and since that decision, 60 million babies have been put to death by abortion in this country. Then, so they're comparing all the correlations between that and the Holocaust. Then, Jews are subhuman, Untermenschen. The subhuman, that biologically seemingly complete creation of nature, with hands, feet, and a kind of brain, with eyes and mouth, is nevertheless a completely different, dreadful creature. I cannot tell you, beautiful people, how many times I've talked to a pro-choice person who says, hey, they're not actual human beings. They're not humans until they exit the birth canal. He is only a rough copy of a human being with human-like facial traits, but nonetheless morally and mentally lower than an animal. And some of you pro-choicers have much more mercy for animals than you do for human babies. These are facts. For all that bear a human face are not equal. I'm sorry, but if you support abortion in any way, shape, or form, you do not believe that all human beings are equal. You believe in a stratified justice system where some human beings are worth protecting and other human beings are people that we can kill, do experiments on, etc., etc. If you are pro-choice, you can never again say that you believe in the equality of human rights. We continue. Unborn babies are subhuman. Fetuses, especially those as old as 5 or 6 months, elicit our sympathy because they look disconcertingly like people. But this sympathy is misplaced. While it may perhaps possess some flickering of sensation or some capacity to feel pain. Listen to these sociopaths, subhanAllah. God forgive them. Hold on, buddy. Let me get you your nookie. They look disconcertingly like people, but this sympathy is misplaced. I can't tell you how many times pro-choice people have told me that when I describe... Hold on, guys. I can't tell you how many times these pro-choice people have told me that my sympathy is misplaced and that I'm being manipulative when I describe what happens to the targets of abortion. Unbelievable. This is misplaced. John says this is crazy gaslighting. This is human is not a person. What? Exactly. I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but I've had this conversation with a person in this chat. He told me that they were humans, but they weren't persons, so we can still be able to kill them. This sympathy is misplaced. While it may perhaps possess some flickering sensation or some capacity to feel pain, this is equally true of creatures like fish or insects. Okay? Hold on for a second, guys. Okay, I have returned. Okay? Fetuses, especially those as old as 5 or 6 months, elicit our sympathy because they look disconcertingly like people, but this sympathy is misplaced. While it may perhaps possess some flickering of sensation or some capacity to feel pain, this is equally true of creatures like fish or insects. A proper respect for the right to life requires that it not be respected where it does not exist. And the name of this document is, Can the Fetus Be an Organ Farm? So we shouldn't, I know they look like babies, and I know they can feel pain, but your sympathy for them is misplaced because it's not a person, so we're justified in killing it. Jews are parasites. The Jew was always only a parasite in the body of other peoples. Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. Now, unborn babies are parasites. A woman would have the right to abortion just as she has a right to remove any parasitic growth from her body. That's Gloria Steinem, and she said that on CNN. Okay? Another propaganda tactic used by abortion industry lobbyists justifies child murder for research purposes. Billions of taxpayer-funded research dollars support gruesome experiments on aborted babies, the immoral and unimaginable procedures hidden in scientific language, and dubious claims of benefits to society. Jewish torture and murder by Nazi doctors such as Joseph Mengele at Auschwitz were designated as medical research too and declared good for society. Torture is medical research. To explain the concentration camp experiments, Dr. August Hirt supplied this rationale. These condemned men will at least make themselves useful, he says. Wouldn't it be ridiculous to execute them and send their bodies to the crematory oven without giving them an opportunity to contribute to the progress of society? We're gonna experiment. We're gonna experiment on these Jews. Because we've condemned them to die anyway, why should we just waste it? This would just be a waste. If we don't experiment on these people, at least they're doing something for the good of humanity. What are people saying now? Human fetal tissue research is the gold standard. Professor Irving Weissman head of regenerative medicine at Stanford University, August 2020. Many abortion influencers and judges apply competency tests to infant life in the womb, denying their personhood based on limitations in intelligence, consciousness, development, and independence. Amici recognizes the audacity and short-sightedness of denying anyone personhood based on arbitrary measures, knowing that this leads to unbridled crimes against humanity in the final solution and the abortion holocaust. Once again, these are Jews who are saying that abortion is absolutely correlated to the Holocaust. Eli Wiesel, a Romanian-born American Jewish writer, professor, political activist, Nobel laureate, and Holocaust survivor, personally experienced the irrational racism that leads to dehumanization and mass murder. In 2005, he gave a speech at the opening ceremony of the new building in Yad Vashem, the Israeli Holocaust History Museum. Jews were not killed because they were human beings in the eyes of the killers. They were not human beings. They were Jews. This is correct. This is correct. People keep telling me, then they're not humans. No children are being killed in abortion. No babies are being killed in abortion. This denial of science and plain fact. The Nazis did this, guys. This is exactly the same playbook. You experimented on Nazis, you experimented on Jews. We're experimenting on these babies. You dehumanize Jews, you're dehumanizing babies. You call the Jews parasites, you're calling these babies parasites. What do you mean there's no correlation between that and the Holocaust? Holy smokes. The dehumanization of children in the womb has allowed millions and millions and millions of abortion crimes in the name of justice, rights, healthcare, biomedical research, improving the gene pool, convenience, and even religious liberty. Millions and millions and millions of human beings are brutally killed for profit, to avoid criminal prosecution or social embarrassment, to keep a job, or regrettably, due to fear, uncertainty, coercion, manipulation, and threatening ultimatums. Eugenics. Eugenics abortion of imperfect babies has increased in scope with improvements in genetic testing. Jewish resistance to this modern genocide is based on our respect for life and our experience of targets of eugenics-based mass murder. And they go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Conclusion: we must end abortion, appalling crime against humanity, to begin the process of reconciliation with our Creator, to restore the dignity of those who have perished, and to return our country to a life-affirming nation. Correct. Correct. There is absolutely a case to be made that there is a correlation between what we're doing to these babies in the womb and what happened to our Jewish brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, friends. You know, this happens. I talk about this all the time. I just got done watching a movie series about John Brown. And John Brown was saying, how could you do this to these people? And they were telling John Brown, because John Brown was against slavery. He wanted to abolish slavery. And they were telling John Brown that he was too radical. And they were telling him to be more practical. And they were talking about like progressively letting the Negro go. And John Brown said, hell no. No, I'm not compromising. White guy. No, I'm not compromising with you guys. Dear listener, if you know the science, and if you've been on this channel for any period of time when we're talking about this issue, if you know the science and you support this action, there is no logical way you could say that you would have been on the right side of the slave trade or at the right side in Germany in the 30s. I'm sorry. Everybody wants to believe. Everybody sees that picture of everybody saluting Hitler, and then there's that one guy with his arms crossed not doing it. And everybody wants to believe that there'd be that guy. You would not be that guy. No, you would not. You are going around and going along with the party line of people who believe that we should have a stratified justice system, of people who believe that human beings shouldn't be equal. And even if they feel pain and look human, it doesn't matter because they're not really humans like us. But you would have stood up against the Holocaust. You would have stood against slavery. When you had secular scientists that practice what is called scientific racism, where they literally try to give scientific justification to say that we weren't really human beings. We weren't really Homo sapien. We were close, but we weren't there. We were closer actually to beasts of burden, and we liked being out in the hot sun working all this, that we were built for the field. Oh, but you would have stood up for us. I'm sorry. None of you would have. If you support this practice, you would not have been on the right side of slavery. I am sorry. I know everybody wants to believe better about themselves than they actually are. But all you have is the benefit of looking backwards. And you're not realizing maybe something like that is happening in my time period. Am I on the right side? Are you on the right side? Are you on the right side of this discussion? We provided irrefutable evidence that what we're killing are babies in the womb. We provided irrefutable evidence that of the brutality. We provided irrefutable evidence of the racist, ableist, xenophobic roots, ageist roots of this institution. But you still stand with them. I'm sorry. You would not have been on the right side of history in the slave trade, and you would not have been on the right side of history in Germany. And some of you, now you're going to be like, yo, you're going too far, Vin. Some of you, because I always get an email, I always get it every single time I talk on this. Some of you are too afraid to come out of the closet and be pro-life because you want people to like you on Twitter and Facebook. So you're afraid. There's a gay dude. And we know that the Biden administration is using the DOJ and the FBI to go after his political opponents, and Anna Kasparian and the rest of the so-called leftists are not saying a word about it because they like what's happening. But our brother is looking at 11 years in prison for a direct action protest where he didn't burn anything down. He didn't destroy anything. He didn't hit anybody. This kid is facing 11 years. Gay dude is facing 11 years of prison. And he put on his Twitter account. I was in the hospital. I was looking at this. I cried so much in that hospital. He said, I am scared of an 11-year sentence. And he said, but that is nothing like the sentence that these kids are getting every day. I said, shit, man. What a person. Say what you want about gay dudes, but what a fucking man. That's how men operate. That's what men do. Men say, yeah, hell yeah, this shit is scary, bro. But men protect children. We don't have sex with everybody, get people pregnant, and then look at our bank account and say, hell no, I don't want to pay child support. Let me shove this girl into the clinic because I'm too soft to do what I need to do as a man to care for my child. So people can say whatever they want about gay dudes, but that dude got some stones on him, bro. This dude is ready to give up a fucking decade of his life to protect these children. You sure you're on the right side? You sure? You sure you're on the right side? If you use the argument for bodily autonomy, don't you realize, dear listener, that the child is still in the mother's body at 8 months? Reza was 3 days past his due date. She was still in the body. Well, does she have the bodily autonomy to kill that child in the 9th month? People say that doesn't happen. Yes, it does. It does. What did he do? He stood outside a door of an abortion clinic. Chris? He stood in front of the door of an abortion clinic. And they sent the FBI and the DOJ. The FBI has been deployed to a bunch of pro-lifers where they show up with rifles and put rifles in the face of this guy while he's eating dinner with his children for standing in front of a door. Chris? He didn't harm anybody. He didn't kill anybody. The only people doing any killing were the doctors that killed those children, Chris. Meanwhile, during the George Floyd uprisings, the squad was getting money together to bail these people out for setting fire to cities and all this shit. And look, I believe that those were legitimate protests. But people got hurt in the George Floyd uprisings. This kid stood, I just explained to you, Chris, what he did. He stood in front of the door and he wouldn't leave the door. That's what he did, and he's looking at 11 years federal time, Chris. Chris, that happened to my folks. We weren't even there. They tried to get him on a noise ordinance. We had to get a pro bono thing, and we almost took it to the Supreme Court. We almost went. We had 4 states that supported 6 states that supported our petition. This is what these people do. They don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in freedom. No assault. There was no assault. And you go look this up. There have been 3 people. The FBI is going on a purge now for pro-lifers. You're just now hearing about this? This shit is real out here. In what other circumstance can a white male face 11 years for not committing a violent act? Only if he's operating in defense of children. I'm bringing that up to say, listen, God might not call most of you to pay a price like this kid is willing to pay. Okay? But you got to be able to pay some prices, man. That's why, like, look, you know, that's the reason I don't give a fuck about subs or who likes you. I've lost friends over this. I don't care, man. I don't care. Because when we get rid of this scourge and the previous generation looks back, y'all gonna look like the apps. You're gonna look bad, and you should. You should. Pro-life activist could face 11 years in prison. Herb Garrity, 25, charged with conspiracy against rights and freedom of access to clinic entrances. Here it is. Here's Chris. That seems a little excessive. A little excessive. He didn't do anything. That kid is about 24 pounds. That kid is. Here is what this guy said. This guy's an absolute fucking hero, guys. I gotta tell you. If convicted, I'm facing up to 11 years in federal prison. That is obviously terrifying. However, 11 years is nothing compared to having your life snuffed out before you're even old enough to take your first step or speak your first words. End quote. 11 years of this guy's life is hanging in the balance. And that's his attitude. You sure you're on the right side? You sure? "11 years is more than some rape and murder sentences." Hell yeah, Brock Turner got like 11 months. What you mean? People on the good guy team don't do stuff like that, Chris. When has the government ever used heavy-handed tactics in the cause of justice, Chris? When has the government ever done that to protesters and been right, Chris? When? This would be the first time, I guess. And Chris, how come this isn't all over the place? There are multiple pro-lifers who are getting jammed up by the FBI. And I've told you guys, we had to deal with it. We had to go to our state and circuit Supreme Court to be able to speak out loud. Those are facts. That anytime you see a government deploying the law to stifle speech, Chris, they've never been on the right side. Never. I guess this is the exception, right? No. Dear listener, there is absolutely a correlation between the Holocaust and abortion. Here is the difference. What a lot of people do not know about the Holocaust is that many of the Jews did not just sit there and take it. Many of those Jews resisted and fought back, especially during the stages when they were in the ghettos. And Kanye said a very controversial phrase, but I'm 100% with him. He said slavery is a choice. You know why I said I'm with him? Because Nat Turner and them boys strapped up and they went to work. And I'm pretty sure that if me and Applejack, no, I didn't say that you agree. I know you disagree, Chris. What I'm saying is that I'm pressing your conscience here, bro. When have you seen a government do something like that and been on the right side? Are you sure you're on the right side, Chris? You've seen the documentation. We're killing babies, Chris. There's no way around it. You sure you're on the right side? Chris, if you say that a woman should be able to kill her child in the name of bodily autonomy, then there is no logical reason why she shouldn't be able to kill an 8-month-old in the womb. And I'm damn certain, Chris, that you do not support killing an 8-month-old in the womb. But if it's about bodily autonomy, there's no logical way for you to say that she shouldn't, Chris. Are you sure you're on the right side, bro? You sure? Ask the indigenous people who protested these pipelines crossing their communities about the government actions to those people. Correct. Every single time that the government takes heavy-handed draconian measures against protesters, they're wrong. They're wrong. And they're being, and we know, Chris, this is one of the things that gets me about leftists. Chris, you know about big pharma. You know about how capitalism works. And Chris, you know the impetus from capitalists to put capital over people. Chris, what is the number one motivation for abortion? You know it and I know it. Guttmacher, it's financial. You know that. Chris, is it possible that the FBI and the DOJ are being deployed as the military wing of big abortion? Is that possible? Is it possible that the DOJ and all those people are working in service of an industry, just like you were able to put it together with the NRA with this gun stuff? Or big pharma with healthcare and Medicare for all? You're able to put that correlation together? Chris, maybe is it possible that these people are making billions of dollars in blood money for killing these babies, and they don't want people to stop them, so they're deploying the DOJ as foot soldiers to ensure that their capital continues to stream in? Chris, is that possible? Slavery, black people, many black people, did not sit there and allow themselves to be enslaved. They strapped up and they went to work. I am certain, I've never met Applejack's brother, but I am certain if it was me, Pilly, and Applejack on the plantation, one of the three of us would say, I have an idea. Let's strap up and do what we have to do. And if we live, fine. And if we die, fine. I believe that would happen. Either Pilly would say it or Applejack would say it. Not say, well, I'm a Christian. I don't believe in that shit. They'd say, look, you could stay here and let your wife get raped. We're going to war. Here's the difference. Can a baby decide they're going to fight back? Can a baby run away? Can a baby organize and resist? No. And that's where the breakdown between slavery and the Holocaust doesn't work. Abortion is worse. That kid has no fucking shot. The people that conspired to kill those Jewish people and that did most of the killing were soldiers. Dear listener, the role of the soldier is to kill. Who's killing these babies? Doctors. What's the role of a doctor? To heal. As a matter of fact, in the original Hippocratic Oath, they explicitly mentioned abortion and swore they would never apply abortifacients to their patients. You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting that a lot of people don't know, and a lot of you guys don't know because you've aborted your own children and you don't have many children, so you don't understand this stuff? All right, let me hold my tongue. Let me hold my tongue. I'm not going to say that. Draymond Green assaults another person outside a game. He gets a fine and documentary. Money talks. Correct. Just like you have Big Pharma and just like you have NRA, you also have big abortion. Dear listener, there have been about 60 plus abortion clinics from Planned Parenthood that have closed since the Dobbs decision and the states started making abortion illegal. But I thought abortion was only 3% of what Planned Parenthood does. Yeah, but it's the main money generator, dear listener. And that's why when abortion services get cut off, they shut down. These people have a financial interest in this action happening. So it's fascinating to me that we could see Big Pharma, we could see the NRA, but we can't see the abortion lobby for what the fuck it is. That's very interesting to me. Very interesting to me. Advocates for pro-choice frequently cite the financial burdens of having a child to a mother who is not ready to do the finances. Correct. Which is capitalism. Because capitalism says that we put capital before people, and the only good that people serve is whether or not they can generate capital. And so since this little bastard is going to deplete my capital, I should be able to kill her. My drill instructor told us the first day, your job is to kill people and break things. Correct. The people that were killing those Jewish people were soldiers. The people that are killing these children are doctors. It's unnatural. It's unnatural. The Jews at the time were not in their homeland. They were not in Israel. They were foreigners. The person bringing them into the clinic, the person bringing the baby into the clinic is not a foreigner. It is their family member. Did you hear what I said? The Jewish people in Germany were foreigners. They were guests in a land that was not theirs. That's why you had all those accords and things like that, and the push for Zionism to get the Jewish people to Israel so that they could be on their home turf. Right? Dear listener, the person who's bringing that child to be killed is their family member. They're not on foreign soil. They're literally in the homiest place possible. So yeah, there are some fractures between the analogy of the slave trade and abortion and the Holocaust. Abortion is worse. It is the worst human rights atrocity ever in the history of human beings. That is not hyperbolic. These kids are defenseless. There's no way they can protect themselves, and they're being betrayed by the people that are supposed to love and protect them, and by institutions that were designed specifically to heal. And this is what I'll say to you, because a lot of you guys don't understand this, because a lot of you guys don't have kids. You know what's really fascinating to me, this whole no uterus, no opinion? I'd like to say, if you've never really had a kid and you've never been an involved parent, You really shouldn't comment on this. Do you know, dear listener, I was with my wife's doctor who's delivering Seneca. Beautiful lady, by the way. Soraya went in between contractions. She had to go to the bathroom. And the doctor turns to me and she says, it's important that I check up on you too. She says, it's important that I check up on you too. She didn't say, hey, you don't have a uterus, so hey, it doesn't matter. You kidding me? I got my child there and I got my wife there. Of course I'm a stakeholder in this situation. All you silly people, no uterus, no opinion. Shut the fuck up. Honestly, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No, when we were in the heat of battle, that doctor turned to me. She said, it's important that I talk to you too. She said, how are you doing? I said, I'm okay, which was a lie, and everybody saw it was a lie. You know what she said to me? She said, Vincent, she said, if you melt down here, you're no good to me. Suck it the fuck up. Yes, ma'am. Because I was starting to unravel, and I was starting to get too emotional. So she comes back out, Dr. Laser back there. So I start praying like crazy. I'm like, Jesus, you got to keep me together. You know, I'm an emotional guy, blah, 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 blah. Soraya is the one hurt here. I'm not the one hurt here. So why are you crying? And I'm just praying. And I was able to get her through it. And then once I was able to put Seneca on her chest, then I broke. And then, you know, they took care of me after that. Soraya never shed one tear in that entire situation. I'm just saying this to vent to you guys, to brag on her, and to just show you guys men absolutely are stakeholders in this discussion, and it is absolutely ruthless and evil to pretend that we're not. But here's the other point that I want you to understand. The doctor said to me, I'll never forget this. She said, when I'm delivering, I have 2 patients. Do you know, dear listener, that technically speaking in these abortions, that the child that they go to kill is technically looked upon as a patient? I'm going to say that again. In an abortion, the doctor has 2 patients. You sure you're on the right side, Chris? You sure? You sure? All of you. You sure? You sure you're on the right side? You go to a hospital, you got 2 patients, and the goal is to kill one of your patients. And you're not successful unless you kill your patient. What other procedure in this country do we have where you're unsuccessful if the person comes out alive? You sure you're on the right side? You sure? Who is anyone to decide to take that away from another human? I'm glad that doctor got you to rein yourself back in, Vin, that you were there for Sori, and I'm proud of you. Well, I was pretty worthless. You know, Sori's like, oh, you supported me, blah, 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 blah. But I took my son out and I laid him on my wife. And I'm pro-life and I love kids. But I got to tell you guys, I wasn't worried about him, bro. That was the most pain I've ever seen my wife in. I could do nothing to help her. And I love babies. Everybody knows that, man. But my concern was not that baby at all. I wasn't worried about that dude. And I love him to death. But that was tough. And I got another level of respect and admiration for that woman. And I got to tell you, I'm sad for some of y'all, because some of y'all lost that opportunity because you were so worried about capital. You were so worried about money, and your convenience, and you bought into the lie that your capital was more important than your own flesh and blood. And they took that from you, and you're never going to be able to realize the beauty of those moments And that's why some of you guys are so fucking calloused and hard-hearted, because you know deep down inside something is missing and you lost something. These people are ruthless people. I'm not talking about your pro-choice or on the ground. I'm talking about the people in the medical field who know what the fuck is going on. These are ruthless people. I don't care what anybody believes. You better make damn sure you're on the right side. And you better make damn sure that you can look yourself in the mirror as a grown man or a grown woman. And you need to be able to fucking tell yourself that you're on the right side. And if you come to the conclusion that you're not, that you're even questioning it, you need to go all the way and stop being a bitch and stop being scared and stop with the hoe shit and man the fuck up and woman the fuck up and do what's right, because you guys know that this is wrong. This is absolutely and manifestly indefensible. I have no judgments to women in exigent circumstances, because the fact of the matter is I'm still a Christian. Men at the end of the day still run society. I don't give a fuck how many progressions we've made. We still don't have a woman president. Feel how you want to feel. We still don't have a woman president, y'all. Hillary Clinton, I don't like her at all. She was massively unlikable. But in that 2016 election, there was nobody close to her for qualifications. Nobody. So men still run society, especially in the Western world. So ultimately it falls on us. Shout out to Candy Apples. Shout out to Candy Apples. Much love to her. Yeah, I understand, praying that your son doesn't have complications. I got to get out of here, guys. I love you guys. We're going to watch our show on Netflix. I'm going to eat my chicken. And I usually don't do this. Yeah, we all thought Hillary was president when it was Bill. I agree. I usually don't do this, but I really, really, really want to challenge you. Go to that website of those Jewish people. Read what those Jewish people had to say about the correlations between this practice and the Holocaust. And look at what's actually happening. Go and Google what abortions look like when they're done. And take a long, hard assessment of yourself and say, am I really on the right side here? I love you all. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. And if you're pro-life, don't you dare judge those women. You don't know the circumstances they were in. You don't know who they were coming home to or who they were not coming home to. I had a friend, and she got pregnant. Boyfriend was all cool. Halfway through it, he decided he didn't want to be a dad. Broke up with her. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna take care of the kid. Yada yada yada. Get rid of it. Kicks her out of the apartment. She then goes to her dad. The dad says, "Sweetheart, you've already got 3 kids. I'm on state aid, so take care of that problem, or you'll have to spend a Maine winter in your car." I'm not going to judge her for the decision she made, because that's not a decision. She wasn't given an opportunity. You're going to tell a mom to fucking sleep outside in a car in the dead of winter in Maine? She had no choices at that point. That's why I can't stand this whole rhetoric about pro-choice. Get out of here. So the sex traffic girl that I was talking to, she had choices. The girl that got shoved in the clinic in front of Sori, she had choices. My friend A, who was abandoned by her boyfriend and her father, she had choices. They didn't have choices. We ain't gonna judge these girls. Hell no, we're not judging these girls. Hell no, I don't support legislation to criminalize women. Hell no. Hell no. Now we're not gonna go after women for the societal, structural, and systemic failure of men to step up and be men. Because y'all know, and I know, that if a man would say, babe, we got this, I got this 100, we're going to be good, that the abortion rate would plummet. You guys know that a lot of this shit is on us. You know that. You tell that girl, babe, you will be able to finish school. I will work 2 jobs. I will do whatever. We're not fucking gonna derail your dream. I'm not gonna kill your child and tell you to kill your son or your daughter. But we're not gonna derail your dream either, because I'm a man. I made this child with you. I'm gonna fucking step up and we're gonna take care of this child. 9 out of 10 women would keep that child, y'all. You can't outrun biology. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. I will be with you in spirit. Man up, as John says. As John says, man up. We got to be men. This is mostly on us, y'all. That's why all the leaders, all the pro-life leaders of these life site news all over, they're all women. All right. I love you all. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Shout out to my brother Kai. And big shout outs to Soraya. Damn. It was her finest hour, y'all. It was her finest hour. To be honest with you, I am not really recovered from it. I'm not really recovered from what I saw. And it's crazy for me even to say that, because I'm not the one that went through that. But when you see, it's unbelievably amazing. Unbelievably amazing. And you just have so much respect and honor for that. And we're doing ministry downtown and all the rest of it, grimy ghetto shit. So many girls out there having to do that shit by themselves. That's what I'm saying. We can't judge these girls, because I just seen this is a major moment. And for a person to have to endure that by themselves without the other person who made that child, I get it, man. I don't get it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't judge these girls. Like, if you have any judgment in your heart for these women, you have no idea what they're up against, man. I've seen them a bunch of times in these situations, but I've been on the outside. You have no idea what these girls are up against. Facing the prospect of going through all this shit by themselves. We got to step up. It's not time to judge women, man. That's not the time to do this. It's not the time to judge women. This is on us mostly, honestly. Well, shout out to the women. If you had an abortion, I'm not. And I know some of you, because y'all talk to me offline, and you're not even allowed to mourn the loss of your child, because you're supposed to shout your abortion and strut your stuff like you're completely fine, like you killed your child. You felt the fluttering of that child moving around in your womb. And now it's gone and it's never coming back. Do you know that women, after they give birth, many of them actually go through part of the postpartum depression is missing that buddy? If you get to the last 3 or 4 weeks of pregnancy, the woman is like, yo, get this thing out of me. But it's a documented issue that they miss their buddy. Even though the buddy's in the bassinet right next to them. I cannot imagine how that must tear them apart, where the buddy's not there. You're not feeling the flicker anymore, and you know that you're never going to see them. And you wonder what they looked like, what their hair would have been like, what their eyes would have been like, what their voice sounded like. You wonder what the first smile would have been like. I got to tell you that for me, the first thing is the first smile, man. Because they're basically like a blob for the first, 6 to 8 weeks. Now, we're not going to judge women. We're not going to judge women. We're not going to judge women. They're in a lot of pain. A lot of these women are not allowed to shout their pain. It's because of you. This shout your abortion bullshit. And I'm not going to talk about miscarriages. You guys went out of your way to dehumanize the occupants of the womb so much so that now these girls can't mourn over their miscarriages. I just literally got done talking to one and seeing one on Twitter. You sure you're on the right side? You sure? Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media. Long live Soraya. Long live Seneca. Long live Pilly. And if you're a woman, whether you had a child or not, whether you had a miscarriage or not, whether you had an abortion or not, you're valuable. Society needs you. And if you are mourning the loss of your child, you can send me that email and I will not exploit you. I'll talk to you. I will not exploit you. I will not share your story, and I will not make your pain a mascot for my agenda. And you don't need to talk to me, but talk to somebody. I don't care how you lost a child, whether it's miscarriage or abortion. Talk to somebody. You're not supposed to carry that by yourself. Much love to all you guys. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media. Till next time.